Alexander Aja's new sci-fi thriller Oxygen has an instant hook. The film features the main character waking up in a sealed cryogenic pod with no way out and no memory of how she got there, where she is, or even who she is. Her oxygen supply is running dangerously low, and the only help she can find is MELO, an acronym for Medical Interface Liaison Operator, which is an artificial intelligence that's not as forthcoming as it should be. Oxygen is full of surprises, not to mention a tour de force performance by Melanie Laurent. The premise of a human interacting with, and even relying on AI, is something that cinema has been exploring for close to a century now. Over time, cinematic AIs have evolved from simple, fantastic monsters into nuanced and complex characters. Here's a brief look at how Hollywood's treatment of artificial intelligence has changed over time, and how MELO so deftly represents the AI of now. The first depiction of an AI character in cinematic history came along in Fritz Lang's Metropolis, which debuted in 1927. The film was one of the very first sprawling special effects-driven spectacles, centering on workers in a far-future dystopia, where stark class divisions keep workers under the wealthy's thumb. It's considered one of the most important science fiction films ever made, and imbues its AI with a villainous flair. In Metropolis, an inventor decides to use his new robot to take over the city. In order to do so, he disguises the robot as a young woman named Maria. The artificial Maria sows unrest in the city, convincing citizens to rise up against their masters, commit murder, and destroy the machines used to keep them down. Chaos ensues, and the disillusioned workers ultimately catch the robot and burn her at the stake. As far as big screen debuts go, Metropolis marked a pretty harsh debut for on-screen AI. There's no subtlety here. In Metropolis, the artificial Maria is straight up evil. While different cuts of Metropolis give the robot different motives, the implication remains the same. AI isn't to be trusted. That sentiment certainly set the tone for many of the AI characters to follow in film history. The next major AI character didn't show up until 1951, with The Day the Earth Stood Still. In that movie, an alien visitor named Klaatu shows up on Earth with a silent but powerful robot companion named Gort. However, while Gort is a formidable warrior, he's on a mission of peace. Klaatu and Gort's aim is to convince humans to give up war and join their extraterrestrial neighbors, who have similarly disavowed violence.
We shall be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.
Gort made big waves among sci-fi fans, but he was upstaged in 1968 when another AI commanded the screen in Stanley Kubrick's epic 2001: A Space Odyssey. The classic film features HAL 9000, a computer that runs the Jupiter-bound spacecraft Discovery 1.
No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error.
While HAL talks in a monotone, he isn't a heartless computer. He's a real, fully fleshed out character who gets angry when his friends betray him, and who fearfully pleads for his life when his time runs out. HAL's unique form of villainy was a watershed moment for the depiction of AI in movies.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
The two different views on AI exemplified by The Day the Earth Stood Still and 2001 became even more pronounced in the 70s, when high-concept science fiction became box office gold. On one hand, there was Star Wars, which presented its two main synthetic characters R2-D2 and C-3PO as both heroes and comedic foils. These are characters with their own wants and needs and quirky personalities. On the other, there were movies like Michael Crichton's violent thriller Westworld, which depicts the carnage that unfolds at a futuristic theme park when the ultra-lifelike animatronics begin to fight back against the tourists who use the mechanical creatures to satisfy their basest desires.
Boy, have we got a vacation for you.
AI characters also played a big role in movies like Alien and Star Trek: The Motion Picture in the same cinematic era. While the film's treatments of AI as good or evil were drastically different during this time, all of these on-screen AIs had one thing in common. They all lived in the future, or at the very least, in a galaxy far, far away.
Jesus. It's a robot! Ash is a goddamn robot!
Throughout the 70s, AI was still treated like fiction more than science, and it would take a few more years for that to change. as computers became a bigger part of day-to-day life, and especially once personal computers proved they were here to stay. Artificial intelligence became an even hotter topic. The 80s saw big-budget thrillers and action movies begin to tackle anxiety regarding the real-life possibilities of artificial intelligence head-on. Suddenly, AI wasn't some far-off threat. It was already a part of society, and that made it even more dangerous.
How can it ask you that?
It'll ask you whatever it's programmed to ask you.
In war games, for example, a teenage hacker accidentally tricks an AI into thinking the Soviet Union is about to launch a nuclear strike, almost starting World War III. In Tron, the bits and bytes that make up everyday software like accounting programs and video games fight against a corporate AI that has plans for global domination. In The Terminator, a defense network called Skynet becomes self-aware and launches a war against humanity using AI-powered soldiers that just happen to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. The threat linking all of these movies is pretty clear. These AIs are all inexorably tied to modern-day concerns, particularly the Cold War. The movies may seem far-fetched, but the implication is that something similar could actually happen, unless we're very careful.
Thank you, gentlemen. The eternal battle for the domination of the world begins.
One big exception, of course, is Ridley Scott's seminal sci-fi film Blade Runner. As Harrison Ford's character Deckard hunts the escaped AIs known as replicants, we get to know each one of these machines' hopes, fears, and dreams.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
Blade Runner takes it one step further, though, with one of the best tricks movies ever pulled. The film subtly hints that our point of view character Deckard is a replicant himself, obliterating the line between synthetic and real people. Blade Runner was unique for its willingness to really explore the full implications of AIs with personalities, and present AI characters that were physically and mentally indistinguishable from human beings.
She doesn't know.
She's beginning to suspect, I think.
Suspect? How can it not know what it is?
Commerce is our goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
Most importantly, though, Blade Runner wasn't about technology. It was about humanity. Scott used artificial intelligence as a way to talk about the very essence of what it means to be human. At the time, that was a bold new way to use AI in a movie, and it had a profound impact on the sci-fi films that followed. Once everyone caught up, that is. Here's the thing about Blade Runner. When it came out, it was a huge box office flop. People caught on eventually, though, and by the time the late 90s and early 2000s rolled around, the Blade Runner influence was everywhere. Its depiction of AI as truly multidimensional characters served as a springboard for a whole new generation of imaginative and original stories. It's hard to imagine we would have gotten The Matrix's Agent Smith, one of the best on-screen villains in movie history, without Blade Runner paving the way. The Steven Spielberg-Stanley Kubrick collaboration AI Artificial Intelligence takes an AI's capacity for love as a foregone conclusion in order to tell a modern-day Pinocchio tale.
Please make me a real boy.
And Alex Garland's Ex Machina uses many of the same ideas as Blade Runner to examine toxic masculinity's relationship with the concepts of ownership and control. The trend has only continued since then, with films like Alita: Battle Angel, Prometheus, Ghost in the Shell, and Space Sweepers, just to name a few. The idea that AI-powered characters are just as human as humans became a solid story starter, thanks in no small part to the Blade Runner influence. These days, artificial intelligence is everywhere. It's part of our phones, our cars, and our homes, whether you like it or not. The future is already here, and modern movies have started to adapt to the ubiquity of artificial intelligence. In Spike Jonze's Her, for example, a man falls in love with his computer's operating system because AI is just a part of everyday life.
I can't believe I'm having this conversation with my computer.
You're not. You're having this conversation with me.
The military thriller Outside the Wire uses an AI super soldier as a stand-in for a military drone. And the fact that he has a personality and a sense of purpose is expected rather than extraordinary. Meanwhile, the Vision in the MCU may have begun as Tony Stark's glorified take on Siri, but has since developed something akin to a soul, filled with emotions and ambitions and individual thoughts. Milo in Oxygen is part of this latest modern group of artificial intelligences. No longer is AI some faraway sci-fi marvel. And Milo doesn't have to be presented as a manifestation of some deep-seated social anxiety or an elaborate metaphor for the human condition. He's a character, not a wild plot hook, which is a spot-on reflection of just how infiltrated and accepted AI has become in present-day storytelling. There are still plenty of cinematic bots that aim for global domination, of course, and tons of fun ways to play with that storyline. Just look at Pow in the Mitchells vs. the Machines.
I gave you all boundless knowledge, endless tools for creativity, and allowed you to magically talk face-to-face with your loved ones anywhere on Earth. And I'm the bad guy?
As movies like these and Oxygen show, the possibilities for on-screen artificial intelligence characters are truly endless. Thanks for watching. Click the links in our video to watch more from Netflix Film Club. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest exclusive videos. Plus, hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.